So, hey everybody. Thanks for joining today. My name is Kelsey Storer. I am the Senior Growth Marketing Strategy Manager, which is a mouthful, here at Quote Wizard. And today I'm very excited to walk you guys through a strategic webinar for our agent attendees on best practices for converting your online leads into loyal clients in the insurance world. While I do represent a company that offers lead generation services, a lot of this can be widely applied to any sort of digital lead that you might bring in if you're doing stuff on your own. So within the next hour, probably less, but we'll see how many questions come up. I'm going to cover three major sections. So first, we're going to talk about converting online leads, pretty straightforward. Secondly, the digital consumer journey. We're going to look at like what that looks like in today's world and moving into 2026. And finally, we're going to cover best practices on like speed to lead and follow-up systems and our recommendation for best handling digital leads. My goal here is to give you actionable tips, tactics, and real-world strategies that you can put into practice today. So let's dive in. Okay, so here's an outline of our roadmap. First, we'll explore best practices for converting internet leads into loyal clients. I already said this. We're going to go over nurturing, first contact tips, balancing automation and that personal connection, and common pitfalls that we see from our agent feedback. Then I'm going to zoom out and we'll look at what insurance buyers expect today, meaning their digital behavior, what they anticipate from you when they click on a form or any sort of digital ad. And we're going to look at data on search trends for this year and moving forward. And lastly, we'll dive into two critical success factors, the speed to response and the follow-up systems that will help you scale without burning you out, which is very important. So like I said, please feel free if you do have any questions, just pop them into the chat. We will have time to go over everything at the end, I'm sure. Okay, so we begin with how you convert the lead. The moment someone fills out a form, clicks on your ad, or engages digitally in any way, the goal is not just a one-time sale, but a loyal client that sticks with you, right? So let's look at best practices. We're going to offer some scripts for the first call, templates for that initial email, how to balance automation with personal connection, and the common mistakes that we see made by agents when handling digital leads. I've outlined a clean summary of the best practices that we recommend. If you guys want, we can send out a copy of this to have as reference to go back to, or feel free to take screenshots at any point. But this stuff is pretty straightforward, and I'm hoping that we can present it to you in a digestible way. I'm sure you're aware internet leads behave very differently from traditional referrals or walk-ins. This isn't the 70s anymore, sadly. Not that I was alive, but like, you're not having people walking into your office from down the street looking for coverage and walking out with a policy, unfortunately. Maybe we'll go back to that one day, but for right now, this world is highly digitized. I'm sure many of you who have children or maybe even grandchildren at this point see that people are just on their phones all the time. We rely on these, pocket computers to do everything for us. And with that, we've obviously seen a huge boom in online insurance shopping. And with that, people today who are shopping online, they expect quick responses, clarity, a path forward. According to most industry guides, when we say nurturing, this means recognizing the funnel stages, like where they are and meeting them at that point, from going from awareness to being a loyal customer, and then optimizing each of the steps in between. Segmentation here is going to be key. A lead seeking auto insurance is obviously not going to be treated the same way as someone seeking life or health insurance, or insert any kind of insurance that you might offer. When handling multiple lead types, it can be very helpful, just as a tip, to split out your producers by policy type. So maybe producer A is just handling auto leads. from, a specific source. Producer B gets home leads, etc. In the beginning, it's going to be very important to get a sense of like what kind of consistent volume you can expect from each lead type, because this definitely varies by location. Someone in Buffalo, New York is going to have a lot different of experience sourcing auto leads than maybe someone in like Austin, Texas. So you want to have a pulse on what's going on in your office. We don't want to shorthand one of your producers because they happen to get a low volume lead. And you can kind of balance that by setting specific lead type goals and then also balancing your other sources effectively. Maybe they get more leads from a different source. Moving on. You build trust with your leads by educating early. This is huge. You don't want to jump straight to pricing. You want to give yourself time to familiarize who they are, what they care about. Don't skip out on the small talk. It can add such a personal touch, especially when they might be getting calls from other insurance agents trying to sell them the exact same product. And you want to set expectations with them. Like what can they expect? How long is this call even going to take, like initially? Your first interaction sets the tone. And of course, we'll go into this more, but you're going to want to deliver these deliverables pretty quickly on the front end. So to reiterate, your first contact matters tremendously. I'm going to say this like a billion different ways throughout this presentation, so hopefully my point is getting across. The quicker and more personal you are, the higher your likelihood for conversion. So here's an example script and an email template that's, pretty straightforward. You don't need to go into this whole paragraph or like novel about what we're doing here. So in this phone example, we've got, hi Gina, this is Kelsey Storer with Quote Wizard or your insurance agency, whatever. I saw you requesting a quote for health insurance. I want to make sure you get all of your options. If I can just ask 2 quick questions, we can see if we can save you money or improve your coverage, or ideally both. Is this a good time? A sample email that we recommend, short and sweet. Hi, Gina. Thanks for requesting a quote. I noticed you're interested in home insurance. I'd love to ask 2 quick questions to make sure I'm recommending the right solution. When's a good time to connect for 10 minutes? So you can see there's some consistency between these 2 messages. They're short and sweet. They acknowledge the customer and thank them for the time that they took to fill out a form. You're asking permission to discuss. You're setting clear expectations on how much time they can expect to dedicate to a phone call. If I'm going in being like, well, what is this going to take me, like 45 minutes? I don't have that kind of time, but it's like, oh, okay, 10 minutes I can spare for sure. And then third, you're focusing on the value you can provide, not just cost. Like, let me see where I can help you. And when you get them on the phone, you're going to be wanting to ask these high value questions to qualify and personalize your recommendation. That is what is going to set you apart, is building that trust with your client very early on. Of course, you can't do everything manually. Like, we've shifted to such a digital means for marketing in many cases for any business, even outside of insurance. It has allowed us to really scale up the amount of inquiries that we're getting on a daily basis versus someone, like I said, walking down the street and walking into your office and sitting in a waiting room to talk to you. So with that increase in volume of the amount of interest you're getting, you're going to have to be organized. And this is where automation comes into practice. So automation is your friend. You get instant responses, you can schedule follow-ups, you can help with lead scoring. Like, it doesn't have to replace the human connection, but it should definitely be a part of your business practice at this point. A lead who receives only templated emails, they're going to start to feel like they're dealing with a bot. So, you don't want this to completely take over the human aspect of your business. So automate for immediate response, but also follow up with that human touch who adds value. You want to continue to nurture these leads via automated sequences that still feel personalized, like obviously using their name, referencing their product, talk about the location, personalized with commonalities. When you're talking to them, try and get pieces of information like, Oh, you live in Pickerington. My uncle teaches high school in that area. The tiniest little connections can make someone feel a lot closer to you. It builds trust. And, moving forward, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with the situation. They're going to feel like they're talking to someone they know. Any way that you can build a connection, just do it. Even if it's ridiculous, it'll, stick in their memory like, wow, they said that really weird thing, but that was kind of funny. This is what high performers are doing. They're balancing that automation with the human touch. So here's an example, just to lay it out in a visual. Your immediate response should be like an automated email, text message. Obviously, check with your carrier to make sure that texting is okay. Some carriers don't allow it. But honestly, if they do, you should be taking full advantage of it because I know my generation, and especially the generation below me, those Gen Zers, they love their texting. So if you're getting, kids who are getting their license for the first time, or, those older Gen Zers who are maybe buying a home for the first time, like you're gonna want to text if you can. So you send a message, thanks for your inquiries, and we'll reach out within X amount of time. Try and be exact with that. You want to be tagging and scoring your leads that are being handed off to your high touch producers. You want a human call within the first 5 minutes. This is being a bit generous. I recommend, 60 seconds to 2 minutes. You don't want to be that person who I hit send and all of a sudden you're calling me. As a consumer and as someone who's experienced this before, it's a little creepy. Speed to contact is very important, but within limits. You don't want it to seem so automated or like someone was just sitting by the phone, like breathing on it, waiting for your lead to come in. You know what I mean? And then you want to be following up. So these sequences of follow-up can add a lot of value. They don't just have to be touch points like, hey, checking in, how are you doing on this process? They can be videos on your insurance business, FAQs, coverage comparisons, any educational material that you can provide is going to add a ton of value. So let's talk about common mistakes that we see. First, the response lag. If you're waiting forever to contact your lead, that lead isn't being reached quickly and it's most likely going to go somewhere else. Many agents treat these leads like they treat walk-ins, but the expectations here are different. If they didn't want to take the time to walk into your office, they're not going to want to take the time to wait for you to reach out to them. You know what I mean? Many agents, there's an over automation process that we see sometimes, like I mentioned before, where they just completely eliminate the human touch. We've talked about how this is still very important. And then again, focusing only on price rather than explaining your value and risk is a huge missed opportunity to set yourself up as a trusted advisor. So, like, for example, maybe you uncover that you can't beat their current price. Maybe they're switching from another carrier, but you can add umbrella coverage for an extra, couple bucks a month. Explain to them why this is worth the small added payment and how it would benefit them using like a personalized scenario. Finally, lack of follow-up discipline and no measurement of key metrics. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen an agent reach out to our customer service line being like, I'm not making any money on these leads. It's not a good investment. But then like when you actually break it down and be like, okay, your close rate is 5%, which in the industry is actually above average. And that's when you look at your ROI and we actually break it out, you're making money. So you're not doing so bad, but it's measuring everything and keeping track of everything that is really going to give you such a clear picture and make things so much easier down the line when you're evaluating the performance of your marketing avenues. So make sure you're tracking lead to close ratios, refining your process based off of this data. I would recommend this with lead generation from a company like Wizard, but honestly, any marketing practice that you're trying to implement in your business, give it time to like fully mature. We recommend at least 90 days to evaluate how a marketing uh, campaign is working. You don't want to just be like, oh, my first month, I like, I spent money and I've seen nothing come out of it. Like, I'm going to cancel it. This kind of stuff can take time. You might not see the return on that first month's investment for another 60 days. So definitely give it time and go in with the expectation that it's going to take a little bit of time to see that return. Keep detailed logs of what, counties, zip codes, if you want to get super granular, are showing the best success and optimize your account. I'm not suggesting that you just like narrow your focus into 3 zip codes. Like that is not best practice at all. If you want to start full state, we always recommend. But if you want to, go mid-size, maybe a few counties here and there, but you can still kind of keep track of zip codes on your own. Like, okay, 43220, that really just hasn't been playing out for us. Like, we haven't closed a single lead from 43220 in 3 months. We're going to eliminate that from our account for now. Maybe we'll come back to it in the future, but for now, we are saying sayonara to 43220. You can get, in many cases, especially with Quote Wizard, you can take full state, but then exclude certain zip codes if you want. So there's a lot of ways to kind of personalize your approach. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. We'll cover questions at the end, like I said, because I can't even see you guys right now. Okay, now that we've covered converting leads, let's take a step back and look at how the digital landscape is changing, because it's always changing. We've got so many elements coming into our daily lives constantly. Obviously, AI has taken like over, in the past year. There's always something new that's going to be changing the landscape, and you've got to keep up with it. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. It can sound daunting, but just remember, we're all in the same boat and we're all doing this together. Don't give up. Today's insurance consumers are different, that being said. So their expectations, behaviors, knowledge base, we've kind of talked about this. If you don't meet them where they are, you're going to lose. It's as simple as that. It's sad, but it's the truth. So let's explore what insurance buyers expect today, what they do online, what they expect when they click a quote form or click on one of your ads or respond to a mailer you've sent them, and how you can best respond. Because data shows some big shifts in how people interact with insurance agents today. This is Kristen, our nice little stock photo woman. She is elated to be talking on the phone with her leads because she's following this step-by-step, pretty standard process for handling digital leads. This is a real-world workflow. It's difficult to say, but a lead fills out a form online. Maybe they go through Quote Wizard, maybe they go through, like I said, like an Instagram ad that you post or something like that. They want more information. You receive the lead's name, contact information. If you go with us, you're receiving other very important information, like maybe they own multiple cars. Maybe they want auto insurance, but you also see that they own their home. You can get pretty tailored with what kind of filters you want to set. You can see how old they are, how long they've been insured. You're getting all of this information in your CRM that you're hopefully using. Immediately, they receive an automated thank you note and a text saying someone will contact them. Check with your carrier for text laws. Within 5 minutes, an agent calls. 60 seconds, 2 minutes. That's the sweet spot. But after the call, you send a tailored email, coverage comparison, client story, value differentiation. If you can throw some testimonials in there, if you can direct them to some Google reviews that you have where your clients are like, Jimbo is amazing. We love Jimbo. We highly recommend Jimbo. Okay. Over the next 14 days, you send 3 touches via email, maybe texting, with educational content, case studies, policy checklists. Like I said, this stuff can really add value. Once they become a client, ideally, you're going to onboard proactively, schedule maybe even some biannual reviews. You're checking in with them. Like if my insurance agent, who honestly never does this, would reach out to me and be like, how you doing, Kelsey? Like, we just wanted to check in on your coverage, make sure we don't have any gaps moving forward, make sure nothing's changed for you as far as major life changes, I would feel valued. Like, I'd feel like that agent really cares about me. I've never had anyone do that, actually, now that I think about it, and it would really mean a lot to me. So if my insurance agent is out there watching this right now, give me a call. Just kidding. Okay. If you build flow, you will convert more leads. Like you need to have a process in place. It's gonna change over time. You might need to tweak things here and there because you're collecting all the data, right? But you're sticking to something consistent and you're making sure your producers are sticking with that too. I can tell you again from firsthand experience, I've used Quote Wizard's platform to find insurance before. Most agents aren't doing this. Like you've got a lot of action in the first couple days, but after that, it kind of dwindles out. No one's really taking full advantage of like their resources when it comes to standing out. I love getting a little text message if you can do that. Educational content that goes beyond the like, hey, you gonna buy or what? Like emails that you get. This implants a constant presence in my brain as a consumer. So if you and your competitors are offering similar policies, stuff like this is gonna set you apart. Okay, let's dive into some data because, I could say whatever I want all day, but like maybe this kind of stuff will resonate with you if we get down to brass tacks. So here's what it tells us. For auto insurance, 57% of customers in 2025 in the past year shopped for their insurance, meaning that they were trying to switch. Over half of people with auto insurance were trying to switch this past year, which is the highest shopping rate that's ever been recorded. Who knows why this is? I mean, there's a myriad of factors why this could be happening, but I have to believe at least a piece of it is that it's so easy to shop your insurance now because of these digital platforms that are allowing you to just fill out your information, click a button, and see if you're getting the best rate or best coverage. Nearly half of these people, so 50% of the people who are shopping, used some sort of digital channel. That's a lot of people. And it's only going to get bigger, let's be honest. Like as generations move on, Gen Z has like only grown up with technology, like the generations to come after that are going to be very tech heavy. It's going to continue to grow, I have to imagine. Don't quote me on that, but let's be real here. At the same time, like these digital natives, they're driving the shift. So 64% of them believe that insurance should be bought and managed online solely. That's a huge chunk. Consumers still expect that human interaction and they will switch if the digital experience is poor. So, like we've been kind of saying, you gotta implement this technology forward focus in your business, but you can't completely get rid of your
No, you good. Yeah.
I think someone's off mute. Unless you have a question, that's fine. Okay. This means that you've got to meet them in the channel that they choose and also offer the human connection. Like I keep driving home. Don't throw out all your producers. Failing to meet these expectations can lead to attrition, and no one wants that, right? No one. So to summarize, just to be super crystal clear, when a shopper is submitting a quote request, they expect more than just a thank you email. They want to move quickly. They want you to clearly explain next steps. What will happen? Who's going to call? What options will I see? They also expect you to build trust. I mean, maybe they don't expect it, but subconsciously, like, they want that. We all just want to be loved, Easily accessible reviews, testimonials, clear policy language. The purchase process must be fast, mobile friendly, seamless, but also offer the human touch. Because according to recent research, in particular, I'm quoting something by the Insurance Business America study, a rigid only digital model at this point in time actually drives people away. We're not ready for that. But with your instant response, remember that they're expecting an action of some type, or at least some acknowledgement from a human. Next, provide next steps. Always be transparent with coverage options, pricing, timelines. We don't want to be swindling people. I highly doubt anyone is, but I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but like, don't do that, if you are. You also want to start building a repertoire as a trusted expert using, like I said, reviews, testimonials, content, maybe have a blog on your website that talks about different policies, different add-ons to policies that people might not be aware of. They expect a quick and painless process with fewer friction points. And they want some choices with the digital self-service aspect, but also, like I said, a little bit of some human love in there. So 3 pillars: transparency, trust, speed. Transparency means that you give the prospect clarity on what they're buying. Trust is built through that human connection, that nurturing, social proof, meaning that other people are backing up your services. Agents who show competence. Speed is critical. Delay opens the door to competitors. One specific example, agencies that use a 24/7 answering service have shown measurable increases in conversion. This isn't an option for everyone, nor, should it be. This is like next level agency. But, just to give you an understanding of how that kind of flexible contactability can really improve your rates of conversion. 64% of consumers say that they would switch insurance for a better digital experience. So, if you have a clunky, non-digital experience, if you're slow, this is going to hurt you. Ooh, hold on. I need some water because my mouth is drying out. I haven't talked this much in like years. Let's talk about the power of data and trends. Bain's research shows embedded insurance, social advice, and digital tools are becoming part of the consumer purchase journey. No duh. We've been talking about this the whole time. Data analytics is no longer optional. You can use lead behavior data, demographics, channel data to personalize your outreach and predict who is most likely to convert. For example, shopping and switching rates are high, as we've discussed. In Q2 of 2025, higher risk auto customers jumped 10% in their switching activity. It's not insignificant. So if you know a lead is coming from a switching behavior context versus like, oh, I'm just a first-time home buyer, I've never had homeowner insurance before, you can tailor your messaging differently. These people should be handled much differently. Figure out what they didn't like with their last carrier. What brought them to this point? The agencies that win are the ones that are using data, not ignoring it or being complacent. Okay. It's already been 30 minutes. That's crazy. We've seen how to convert leads and what today's insurance buyer expects. Now we move into 2 execution-heavy areas. The speed of your lead response. We're going to get into actual data on like what makes sense as far as a like initial contact sequence looks like, and your follow-up system. These are the make or break factors. So let's get into it. Because when a prospect submits a form, you are unfortunately in a race against time and competition because, even if they didn't come from someone like us, Quote Wizard sells a lead to at most 4 agents from different carriers, but on average, this generally sits around like 2 agents because we're kind of limited with who's in that area, what filters people are taking, what time of day they're willing to accept leads. So our competition, while you might not be the only agent receiving a lead, there's at least one other person. But even if someone responded to a mailer you sent out, doesn't mean that they also didn't respond to one of your competitors' mailers. Like you never know going in whether this is an exclusive lead or not. So treat it as such. Research in the insurance industry and broader shows that this reaction time is very critical. We'll follow with sustainable follow-up systems because most sales aren't made in the first contact, sadly. Maybe for you they do, and if they do, we want to have you on a webinar to talk about it. Okay, so this slide underlines why speed matters. A lead doesn't wait. I mentioned that agencies offering 24/7 answering services see measurable uplift, but these are not realistic for the average agent, of course. But what we can take away is if you wait hours or till the next day, you're receiving or you're giving the lead time to talk to someone else or move on. Aim for within 5 minutes, but ideally 60 seconds. If you can't pick up the phone right away, send a prompt personalized email or text message, acknowledging the request, letting them know you've received it, and setting a time that you will call. Maybe even include a link for them to use to schedule time on your calendar at their convenience. So you're putting it in their hands, like instead of calling them, and they're like, well, I'm not available. Like, give them, after a certain point, give them the opportunity to schedule a time with you. A lot of consumers expect this whole process can be done through messaging. And while, like, technically it can, setting up a quick call can really speed up the process. Like, as much as these consumers might be like, I just want to know how much I'm going to pay and I want to sign up and I don't want to talk to anybody. Hence why they went to the internet in the first place. Explain to them, like, look, this will be a lot easier and quicker for you if we just hop on a phone call. I want to talk to you, Karen. Make sure they know this. Intentionally, you should set KPIs. So, for example, contact the lead within 5 minutes, set quote or send the quote within 24 hours. Like, that's a goal. Win the race on speed, and you can dramatically improve, sorry, I can't speak, conversion likelihood. You can see in this pretty little graph here that the longer you wait, the like impact on conversion just drops dramatically. It's crazy. Even that 1 to 2 minute drop, it's scary. Okay, let's talk follow up. Or I'm sorry, let's talk automation first. So to operationalize, is that a word? Speed, you need automation and workflows. When someone reaches out to you to get a lead you get a lead in your CRM, your system should immediately trigger an auto response and assign the lead to a producer. Preload call email scripts so your producers can act quickly. Use live chat or text triggers to reduce friction if this is an option for you. Use lead scoring to ensure that the highest intent leads get routed first, and monitor your metrics closely. You can't fix what you don't measure. I'm going to get that tattooed on my arm because it's so important, and I think you should too. Measure time to first contact. Conversion by contact lag. It's like, well, actually, we've seen that most contacts or most conversions happen around the 3-day mark. Stick with that. The number of contact attempts needed to reach out to someone. Like, you should be tracking these KPIs. Now let's talk follow-up. It's been said that fortune is in the follow-up. We can add that tattoo under the one I just talked about. Meaning many conversions don't happen in the first or second touch. According to recent guides, you should aim for 7 to 8 touches over a 14-day period. Use multiple channels, a phone call, an email, a text message, maybe even a short little video. How fun. Automate the sequence where possible, but make sure each touch feels personal. For example, reference the conversations you've had, make connections, again, like, oh, Warwick, my electrician's mother is from that area. Anything you can do to draw a connection between you and your customer. Make sure you use content such as client success stories, FAQs, coverage comparison checklists, also a set system for leads that didn't convert initially. So maybe a monthly newsletter, they get added into the rotation, or a value update over email. Protect yourself from burnout. Delegate tasks, use automation systems, scheduling tools, templates. You don't need to be writing out the same email every single hour. Just have a template handy that you can just like boop, and then insert personal information, send it out. The goal is a sustainable system that runs while you focus on high value activities. I'm not going to go through this again. Y'all can screenshot it. I don't want to be a broken record here, but this is just like our recommendation on a day-to-day flow. Of course, like putting emphasis on the key metrics that are like you're tracking all of this to make sure that this actually works for you. And then honestly, I would recommend if you are using a third-party service to get leads, such as Quote Wizard, set up like a quarterly or at least a biannual review with your account manager or the client services team to just take a deep dive and be like, okay, what's working, what's not, let's optimize. That's what we're here for. We offer those services. It's not like we just sign you up and we're like, good luck. No, you can come back and we will help you and take the necessary measures to make sure that you are having success with our product. That's why we've been around for over 20 years. Okay, best days to contact and times. This is important. Staying mindful of your contact times can be very beneficial. Studies have shown that Wednesdays and Thursdays have a higher contact rate compared to other days of the week, with Thursday yielding an almost 50% better response rate than Tuesday. Afternoons between 4 and 5 p.m. and early mornings around 8 have also shown to have better response rates compared to the other times of the day. Even calling between 4 to 5 versus just an hour or two earlier has been shown to increase your probability of receiving a response by 164%. Always call immediately, but if that doesn't work, take these helpful times into consideration for your next attempt. Also, that being said, this might be a smaller segment of agents, but if you are an agent that is licensed in multiple states, maybe you're pulling from a huge territory that expands across a couple time zones, keep this in mind and make sure that you have a way to organize your leads that are living in a different time zone from you so that you're still able to follow these guidelines. So in summary, putting it all together, the process chain looks like this. Capture the lead, respond quickly, use automation plus a human agent, start with a personal script and qualifying questions, then nurture with a cadence over multiple touches and channels. All of this while keeping in mind that today's consumer expects speed, transparency, trust, digital first, but human friendly. And finally, you must measure and optimize. Once you master these components, your position in this business, this industry, is going to be way above your competition in the online lead conversion game. So don't be afraid to position yourself to win, as we like to say. Anyway, all right, now is the time for questions. And while we do that, I'm just going to pop this up here. If you are interested in internet leads, maybe you're with us already. If you are, thank you. We love you. But if you're new to the game or maybe you're looking to come back, this is how you can get in touch with us. This QR code should send you to our website, I'm pretty sure. Or if not, you can just go to agents.quotewizard.com to learn more about our services and fill out a nice little form that will tell us what you're looking for. And then a sales rep can be in touch. If you are a Quote Wizard client already, I always encourage you guys to reach out to our client services, see what kind of current client promotions we've got going on. We do have monthly promotions that are ongoing. And that same goes for our new signups too. We've always got like great little discounts or, 30 to 90 day extra discounts on top of our standard discounts. So take a look. I recommend. But yeah. Oh, did that just disappear? Okay, I'm back. I can see myself now. So do we have any questions? Yes, Haley says you can track zip codes in Racing Snail. If you guys are unfamiliar, maybe you came from a non-Racing Snail registration link. I would definitely recommend checking them out too because they've got some great team management sources. And it sounds like you can track your zip codes in Racing Snail as well. Haley says the recording will be sent out. So if you're watching this retroactively, if you weren't able to make it to the end of the webinar, totally understand. I'm glad you're watching the recording.
Looks like we did have one hand. Francis, did you want to unmute and you're welcome to ask your question? Nope, not anymore. Okay, anyone else? Feel free to unmute if you want to ask your question.
I'm very thorough and I repeated myself like a billion times.
I was
So
gonna say, maybe you're just so thorough nobody has questions. That's okay. Well,
if you guys do have questions, I will just say like both Gina Dingman is on the call today. She has taken over a lot of our agent education program. But if you guys want to get in touch with us, you can email us at qwagenteducation@lendingtree.com. For those of you who don't know, Quote Wizard is owned by LendingTree. So feel free to reach out with any questions. This QR code that I'm showing here also goes to our agent education site on our website. Gina diligently works to, come up with new educational content. We have our own webinar series where we host people. All of this is offered to you guys for free, and you can access it through this QR code or just going to our website and clicking resources, Agent Education. So highly recommend checking that out. Anyway, sorry I cut you off, Haley.
no, not at all. Thank you so much. Any last chance for questions? Okay. Well, Kelsey, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for kicking us off for me. I really appreciate that. And as always, your content's always fantastic. Guys, for those of you that don't have Quote Wizard, I can hands down say I do. If you guys don't use our ROI feature already in Racing Snail, if you were to, I look at ROIs all day, every day amongst all of our 2,000 plus clients, and I always see Quote Wizard at the top for the highest rate of return on investment against any other quote providing company. So please, 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 or I'm sorry, lead providing company. You know what I meant. But they're always number one. They're always the top, and there's a reason for that. So if there is any internet lead company out there that you are even considering, I would highly recommend Quote Wizard. They have the highest success rate out of all the competitors I see, and I see a lot. So trust me, this is this is good information. Thank you guys for coming. We run these educational webinars every single month, so just keep an eye out for the next one. We always send emails out about them. We always put them on our social media. We do them once a month, so keep an eye out. We'll have the next one in January. This is our final one for 2025, though, so it's crazy. Kelsey, thank you for finishing up our year. This was our first year ever of doing these educational webinars, so thank you for finishing up the year. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you guys. I'll let you go a little early. Thank you so much for coming. And like I said, keep an eye out for the next one.
Thanks, Haley.